I do believe it would be wise for you to have a purpose, and I would even believe and say that it would be wiser if one were to actively seek out what it is that they, really thrive in.
It's definitely an interesting thing to hear somebody say who claims to be like a spiritual master or whatever, but I think I would point out what he's trying to, I think what he's really trying to say is,
I was talking to a young lady, and right before, I made the decision to deny her sex, we were talking about a serious topic, and, she was.
why?
Welcome to A and B Mastering the Mind. I'm Alex Crowley.
And I'm Bradley Moore, and on this podcast, this show, we believe that your purposeful and prosperous life is going to be stolen from you. In fact, it is being stolen from you right now by your need for comfort, your culturally driven need for comfort, your situational need for comfort, any situation that's going to stop you from growing. That's what we consider comfort, right? When you hit a plateau. So on this podcast, we try to explore all the ideals and different facets, like you saw some of the other episodes by now, like religion versus science and cultural pressure. Today, we're going to talk about what the purpose of life is. Not some deep esoteric theology. We're just going to look at a few like pragmatic, like maybe a level or two deep in terms of the philosophy, just like a normal life of philosophy about what you can pragmatically do to maybe start looking in a direction that allows you to work in this place that you don't hate. Something that's, I'm not going to guarantee you'll find your purpose like that, right? Because who knows how long it could take. But it points you in the direction, right? So at least you're doing things that help you dig away and find that jewel of a purpose that everyone's looking for, right? So for the opening inquiries, Alex, we'll just jump right into it. Let's see. Actually, let's watch the clip first, because I think you'll want to enjoy. We'll watch the first half of this clip, and then we'll finish the clip. There's another section I want to watch, but let's head over to that now.
Isn't it fantastic that if there's no purpose, you have nothing to fulfill, you can just live? No, but you want a purpose. And not a simple purpose, you want a God-given purpose. It's very dangerous. People who think they have a God-given purpose are doing the cruelest things on the planet. Yes or no? They are doing the most horrible things, and they've always been doing the most horrible things. Because when you have a God-given purpose, life here becomes less important than your purpose. No, life is important. Life is important. When I say life, I am not talking about your family, your work, what you do not do, your party. I'm not talking about that as life. This is life, isn't it? Life is within you or around you. The ambience of life, you're mistaking the ambience of life for life. Your home, your family, your workspace, your party, this is all ambience of life. This is not life, isn't it? Yes or no?
I call him wise person. He has good life philosophies, whether they're based on theology or not. And then this podcast, we arm you with the tools to be able to pull that value out of whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. It can be theologically based, and you can pull some value out of it. It can be scientifically based, and you can pull some value out of it. So what I want to ask you, Alex, after hearing that, does having a purpose mean you are doing something good? And, think back to he originally said, if you don't have a purpose, you can just live and be free. Obviously, there's things that need done in life. So does having a purpose mean you're doing something good? Or, yeah, and then I couldn't decide if I wanted to split my other part of my question up, but I'll leave that because I want to save that part. So what do you think?
It's a very thought-provoking question. A lot can be said about an individual who goes through life, though, without a purpose. I understand that, and I've also been and have been a witness to many different rogue individuals. Now, if you look up the definition, if you look up the definition for rogue, it will tell you that that is a man who is unprincipled, you could almost call that person lawless.
Mm.
Well, the thing about that is the worldly term for role would mean somebody was within a system or following a specific set of rules, and then they decided to willfully and intentionally step out of bounds, right?
Right.
So I guess you could actually, charge that to people who say that they don't have a God-given purpose or not a self, a new self discovery of a purpose that they're trying to achieve here on earth. That you may look at them as a rogue individual, but I do believe that one should have a purpose. But
Mm.
with that, Bradley, I want to add that that purpose usually finds you. And also, some may say that, the purpose that you are supposed to fulfill in your life, you usually find on a certain path or on a specific path that you may have took to really avoid what it is that you were always meant to be or do. um, this is a saying that is very popular. It's been said by me. It's been said by a few professors of mine, and it's even been said, by very important figures, right? But I do believe it would be wise for you to have a purpose, and I would even believe and say that it would be wiser if one were to actively seek out what it is that they, really thrive in and what it is that they can do that not only benefits themselves but others, because you don't, or I should say you wouldn't want to live a life that was that could really be considered a selfish, self-driven purpose. Because although I do and I am a big supporter of focusing on yourself, I do wish that others would help other people be able to find their purpose too.
Mm.
Now,
I agree.
to answer the question as to, well, really to respond to what the guru said about people who have God given purposes, I would challenge him on that. And I would challenge him on that and say that, are you saying that every individual who claims or have claimed from ancient history all the way up until now, who have, really been given a God given purpose from a deity and an entity that you or I cannot see, would be individuals who we would deem hostile and dangerous? Because that would be all the way untrue, because you could look at really figures from modern history who had, who had claimed and walked within their own God-given purpose, or a purpose that was given from a God that they believed in,
Mm.
such as MLK,
Yeah.
who was a Christian man, right? Now
Yeah.
he wasn't perfect. We can go through all the, things that he could have done better or things that he messed up on, but he wasn't a dangerous, hostile individual.
Hmm.
Just to use that as an example.
And he also, I think him and a bunch of other, I can't remember the guy's name. There's a couple people that I listened to that they were like in his close circle, and they actually went to India and met with Gandhi and like talked about, because that was right at the time he was doing his stuff in India, and so some of the prints of like the peaceful protests actually came from Gandhi. So it's just interesting how like the top level, like really like self-sacrificial figures are still have that baseline philosophy of like no violence and stuff. So it's interesting. I do agree with you though that it is a two-edged sword when you say that. I think he probably was pointing to just make that point like aggressively towards the. I wouldn't say he's pointing at like the Mother Teresa's, but he might be. But at the same time, I think the point is raised pretty clearly. Like it can be both ways. Like you can get pretty fanatical about either, whether it's good or bad. Obviously, fanatical good is helpful, but at the same time, it can, you know what I mean? It's like a wet street and you got bald tires and you're, you know what I mean? At some point, it's pretty easy to crash off of that. And so think, I think that's good. Okay, I want to move on. Let's go to the next question. So, in regards to, I want to stay on the purpose. Yep, I think we'll save the other clip for after the question. So, does our purpose come from someone else or society? Meaning, like, we talked about cultural pressure, we talked about religion versus science in these last few episodes. So, building on all that content, how we talked about how pressure forms our cultural habits, etc. How religion and science are the modalities we use. So there's you see what I'm saying? Like we have two good bricks now. does our purpose come from someone else or society? And if so, why or why not? And like, how common do you think that is? How common do you think it is, rather, to find someone whose purpose is wholly their own? That's a better way to ask that, I think.
I think there is no tried and true way to be able to tell where a person's purpose comes from, and whether or not it is truly their own purpose, or whether or not it derives from society. Because some people will say that their purpose could derive from history.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are futurists, so they're saying that their purpose lies within the future. Some people live in the moment. So you would have to use wisdom, Bradley, and I would use wisdom, and I would, to answer your question, I would have to say that you never truly know, because you don't know a person's inner mind. You understand? You
Mm-hmm.
don't really know a person's feelings. We only know what we tell each other, and we only know what we see, and we only know what we are able to interpret. So, with that, when it comes to purpose, I do believe that some people see a problem within this global community that we live in, and they make it their purpose to fix that
Mm-hmm.
problem. Or some people may see something that the world is lacking, and they make it their purpose to fix that problem, so that way not only themselves, but a numerous amount of people can benefit from them fulfilling that specific purpose that provided a solution for many different people. So
Yeah.
I do believe that a person's purpose can derive from society, but I do believe that sometimes when people, when, like when you said, can a person's true purpose solely lie within themselves? Can it be found within themselves? It can, but I do believe, Bradley, that certain things you never really do know where, you may encounter what your purpose is in life. Just like I told you who I knew who I wanted to be at 19. I'm a 22-year old man now, and I know men who are 3, 4, 5 years older than me, and they still don't know who they want to be or what it is that they want to do. Some may hear that and say, well, that's a sad situation they're in. And some people may look at that and say, well, they just need more time. So you never know when you may encounter your purpose, but I am a true believer in work. So I do believe that you should be actively trying to figure out what it is that you can do, so that you may find your
Yeah.
purpose and be able to fulfill it.
Yeah.
Because we don't live our lives off of whim and a prayer, but we actually put in work behind it, even if you do pray.
Hmm. Do I think we can say then? I think it's a good mix of both. Like, your purpose comes from society in so much as the part of you that you connect with the most easily, like your talent or whatever you want to call it, the most imaginary part of you, whether you're an engineer or an artist, right? I think the middle path there, finding a way to use that in society to benefit others, is what would constitute a purpose. Even if, like, say you're an artist in the mountains and you never see anyone and you just make this 3 or 4 paintings, but it ends up, like stopping a war or something because it's that controversial. Obviously, that's dramatic, but you get what I'm saying. Or like,
Hmm.
what if it helps 20,000 people over the course of its 50-year life at a museum? Like, there's countless ways to measure purpose, I guess, is what we could really say. But I think it's a good time to move on to the middle section. Let's see. I'm going to save the question and let's finish the back half of that clip with Sadhguru. There's a part I wanted to see at the end because it kind of ties all what he was saying together, because it was a bit of a dramatic way to say it. And so we'll go to that clip right now.
Okay.
You're sure mad. Yes. If you think you found a purpose in life, you for sure gone crazy. Because only the insane people have purpose. Or people who have purpose are insane in many ways. These are things that you create in your mind and believe it's true, isn't it? Right now, fighting for my country is my purpose. Right now, if it's necessary, I will fight, knowing fully well it's an unnecessary bloody fight. Yes? Then you will fight only to the extent it's necessary. If you think this is your purpose, you would want to destroy the whole world for what nonsense you believe in, isn't it? Something is needed, we'll do it with absolute involvement. There's no other purpose. The purpose of life is to live. and to live totally. To live totally does not mean party every night. To live totally means before you fall dead, every aspect of life has been explored, nothing has been left unexplored.
Foolishness. Foolishness. One a man's purpose may be to serve one's country in a time of war, or even in a time of peace. There are still other things that, excuse me, you can do to serve your country. Uh, the man said that one who has a purpose is dangerous. One who has a purpose is somebody he basically described as somebody who has a purpose is a hostile individual who lacks a sense of guidance and direction. He is so far from the truth that he doesn't even come close to being right. I would say that this is a man who sometimes maybe even arguably loses himself in the worldly wisdom that he's attained in this world. And this is exactly why you have to be careful about the words that you spew over a mic, because somebody heard that and believed it and took it as truth, as if you were eating a meal, and when you ate the meat with the sides and followed it up with the drink, you were satisfied. But when it reached your belly, it was like bitterness. That those were his words. That those were like his words. They sound sweet in the mouth, but they were bitter when it reached your stomach. Just like when I heard it, it's foolishness. And if it is, if you have a purpose, it is okay to have one, no matter how minor or how major it may be. Everybody has a purpose, but not everybody fulfills it.
I think it's a good way to say it. Let's see. How do we determine our purpose? Is our next question, Mr. Crowley. What tools do you think someone could use? I know there is I have a couple of talks we could do for this, but we'll go with one. Let's not go into it first. I definitely agree with you say with what you say. Sorry, with what you said about it's definitely an interesting thing to hear somebody say who claims to be like a spiritual master or whatever. But I think I would point out what he's trying. I think what he's really trying to say is, like, if you're walking down the street and your purpose is to, like, ferociously do something, right? And there's a house on fire down the street. Like, this is a dramatic example, or someone's getting robbed down the street, but you don't, like, your purpose doesn't. He's saying, like, your purpose, your thought doesn't align with helping that person or the fire, right? Then you're just in that way. I think he's saying is that's what he's saying. Like, if you have a purpose, you have insanity, and you're in that way. I think that's kind of his way. I don't think he. I've listened to a decent amount of Sadhguru. I don't know if his English is like super fire. It's not bad, obviously, and I'm not hating on the guy because he's been to India for his whole life. But I think he just uses those more dramatic ways because he doesn't really have the nuanced like scalpel that we talk about in terms of his language. But I definitely agree with what you say in terms of you have to kind of really understand what he's saying to not to get like caught with that bitterness, because it does kind of sound like what. But if you have a little bit of like we do with philosophy and study, you can kind of filter it. I just wanted to use that because I knew you would say I knew you would react to that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Everyone has a purpose, but I think what he's saying is your purpose should just be to live. Meaning, if you're living fully, you're not going to ignore suffering. If something needs fixed, you will do it, right? And that will become your
Correct.
purpose until it's done. And then once, you know what I mean. Once not the utility, but once you've accomplished what you needed to, right?
Mhm.
So let's move on then. I think we've fleshed out the opening inquiries. We'll move on to our middle section here. How do we determine our purpose? I just brought the question up earlier because I wanted people to start thinking about it because this is a toughie. So I guess we could talk about some tools. Let's just start off with what do you use? Like, what some tools do you use in your life to find purpose, even if they were unintentional, right? Like someone else was mentoring you, or you just stumbled into an activity, something like that.
That's a good question. Well, I'm a man who already knows what his purpose is. And so the how I was able to find my purpose was I started looking more deeper into the things that I actually like. And I
Mm-hmm.
started looking and paying attention more closely to the things that actually pique my interest. And it is within those things that I was able to make a really clear determination on what it is that I wanted to do and who it is that I wanted to be. Now, I
I
know I
see.
make it sound so simple, Bradley, but at that time it wasn't simple at all. It was
Mm-hmm.
actually very strenuous. You understand what I'm saying? But I didn't give up. I was frustrated. I deal with frustration sometimes, but I was still able to remain resilient and find what it is that I needed as a man, as an individual who lives in America, who lives within this world and has no intentions or any plans to waste his life, no matter how young or old it may be, or excuse me, how short or long it may be. And so you would have to really, it's okay to like, because not everything you like you can find a purpose in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you may like to eat pistachios, but you don't want to grow a pistachio farm.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you don't want to run a pistachio farm. So you kind of have to make sure it makes sense too. You should be able to generate not only fulfillment, but let's be honest, right? You want to be able to generate income.
Gotta
uh,
eat. I mean, you can't eat only
me,
pistachios. What if the crop doesn't sell? Okay.
Me and you, exactly. Me and you right now, this is something that we're passionate about.
Right.
Right now, we haven't received a dime, not from each other, not from the internet, not YouTube, not anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice how we don't go about this with a bad attitude, because this is something that we really like doing. We're fulfilling not only something that we're passionate about, but this is part of our purpose in life. I don't know what
Right.
it is or who it is that you want to be at the end of your days. What I do know, and I said this in my written interview early this year, is that all that will matter at the end of your days is what it is that you've done and what it is that you've learned.
Yeah. I, I, it's interesting to try to think about finding your purpose because I couldn't really tell you. I literally just my life experiences like channeled into me doing random things, and then I would pursue those things which I liked until I just got bored of them or whatever. Until I finally stumbled upon philosophy, which was in conjunction with other life events. Basically, you just got to keep trying stuff. I think we talked about this in episode like 3 when we talked about recycling our ideology. I can't remember what episode that was in, but I like that term because I mean, if you experience enough, like go to a different country or something, it's gonna happen to you. Like some part of your ideology where you think, oh, bananas taste like crap when they're in this, you're gonna like taste that in a different country, and someone's gonna be like, yeah, shit's good, right? Tastes delicious, right? I've been making that for 40 years. It's like native to this island. You know what I mean? You're gonna have that unique experience. And you're like, wow, the diversity of and it kind of opens that door. It's like almost like opening a window that's been stale, like you ain't took a shower in a week. You've been just in there doing homework for finals, like Alex. You know what I mean? Just you need to
Yeah,
open a window, crack it open, send that paper in, and just let a new idea in. I think that'll help. I think that is the main like driver in terms of like, say you're sailing on the ocean, right? Everyone hits the same wind. Everyone's getting the same wind based on where they're at in the ocean. It's all about how you aim your sail, and you got to make conscious, like persistent and perseverance decisions just to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, and then eventually you'll know, like, okay, I really don't like this. I've written 10 papers on this. I can't stand historical, whatever. You know what I mean? You can move on, but
Well, I
I think I think what I'll say and finish with this is, at the end of my days, I recently have understood that I really don't want to like not want to die. Does that make sense? I'm just
I
taking
get
the
what you're
time.
saying.
Just in case you know, I'm looking over constantly when we stream to the viewers because I continuously make mistakes. So I just making sure the content's juicy and right for you or on track. He said, "Yeah, keep doing it too." He knows the redos. But you want to, for me personally, I want to get everything out of me that I have to. Like, I want to be like so tired at the end of my life that I'm like, dude, I did it all. Like, I want to just like let me go. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like pulling on to, oh, what if I didn't do this? What if I did this? I want to be like so just like completely satisfied with life that I'm like, all right, I'm 92. Everything's stopping work. Everything's hitting the backdraft, stopping its processes. Let's just let me go to sleep. I don't know if that's what I'll say. I probably still want to be alive. I'll have nephews and nieces and stuff till the very end. But you get my point. I won't be like screaming and
Right.
kicking. I'll be like, well, I guess.
All
So,
right.
okay. So we'll move on to the next question here. When you have your goal, how can you develop it, right? So we found our purpose. This is actually a really good episode in terms of linear progression. That's probably our 5% for this episode. When you have your goal, and you can develop it. How do you develop it and nurture it? And at what point, like, where's the point where you transition into using it to leverage your purpose to actually add value to people? And hopefully you add it enough to where companies will want you to come add value and you get paid, et cetera, right? And you'll be able to help your community. So what do you think that is? And then we'll go to a clip and then we'll conclude.
Well, Bradley, I think that question really sounds like, and my from my point of view, that you overcomplicated the question a little bit. It's actually, and I understood what you were doing. You were breaking it down, but to simplify it, listen, you have a goal and you
Mm-hmm.
want to bring it to fruition. And then you want to bring that fruition and have it come to pass. That's the whole reason as to why we dream dreams,
Mm-hmm.
have ideas, okay, and have goals and want to hit these milestones. Well, of course you do, or you're just a person who is all talk. If you don't plan on executing anything, you just want to talk all day about it. So when you have a goal, first you need to start. Well, what is it that you need to do? Well, what's step one? Well, if you want to lose 100 pounds in 12 months, and I'm just using this as an example, on day one, you should not be eating 8 slices of pizza or going to McDonald's for dinner, right?
It's a lot of
You
pizza.
may even you may even want to consider skipping having a meal and just replace that meal with a protein shake
Yeah,
and
I've done
maybe a
that.
banana
It's not that bad
on,
actually. Protein shakes
you
are
know what I
good.
mean? Maybe a banana on the side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you have to first plan out how exactly you're going to reach that goal, because within reaching one goal, Bradley, there's many different steps.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes it's just as small as 3 steps. You get what I'm saying? But for major goals, for goals that may be big to you or to anybody else, you have to plan out the steps, and you have to not be afraid to make that first step. People are going to have to build that courage and get rid of the fear. The fearless can't conquer their own life. The fearless
Mm-hmm.
can help anybody conquer any fear that. Excuse me, not the fearless, the fearful. The fearful cannot conquer their own life and help any other person who is fearful of whatever, or whoever. They can't help that
Mm-hmm.
them either, because you can't even conjure up enough courage and confidence to face your own issues. So first you have to be able to bear the brunt and also accept the fact that it you may get worse before you get better, or your
Mm-hmm.
situation may worsen before it gets better. I
People
say that
stop
all the
talking to
time.
you.
People stop talking to you. They
Mm-hmm.
don't call you back when you're making those cold calls, or they promise you, hey, this is going to happen. The deal falls through.
Yep.
Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you're going to have to learn to persevere and remain resilient. You're going to have to learn it. This is something that can be taught on YouTube or in person, but there's no better teacher than experience.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go through trial and error,
Yep. I agree with that.
but you're going to have to execute.
Let's see. Execution. That's you hit a point in there I want to grab real quick before we go to this clip, because that was what I was gonna end the middle section with here, but you actually hit it. I can't remember how you phrased it, but essentially you just got to jump. You just got to take the leap. You just got to sign up for the group, the speaking group, whatever you're doing. Like you just got to like take a. At some point, you just got to take a hard, fast step. In my opinion, that puts you out there and makes you liable and responsible and gets some accountability from someone. Like Alex and I hold each other accountable. You need to just take a
Yeah.
step and just do it. I mean, our first video, still even now, it's like I'm sitting here like, man, we should start just having a conversation, because I'll be over here like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I mean, we'll learn, eventually we'll learn like the cadence and the nuances to be able to we'll be able to speak together a little bit better, and we'll be able to extract better ideas. But you just got to be brave enough to risk hurting feelings, and like we step on each other's tongues a lot. Actually, no, we're pretty good about that now. I think the last few episodes we've been, but that's something I was just laughing about, is because we're so rigid now. Like I'm like laughing, but just take the leap, man. Literally every time we go to record, I'm like, oh gosh, that little fear, doubt creeps in. But I've done so much, like just listening and work. It's in a small corner in the back of my head, and I throw a sheet on it when it comes out. When it comes to the episodes, especially because I'm just in my room recording. If 20 people watch it, oh well. If 200,000 people watch it, oh well, right? As long as they get value. So just take the leap, okay? And now let's take the
Hmm.
leap to the TED video. TED clip. I messed up the cool transition line. This is why we don't have viewers, Alex. To the clip.
So let's figure out the life purpose right now together. Who you are, what you do, who you do it for, what those people want and need, and how they change as a result. Shall we do it? Yes. All right. Everybody, on the count of 5, shout out your first name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fabulous. That was the first one, only 4 to go. That's who you are. All right, now what do you do? What do you love to do? You love to write, cook, design, create iOS apps, write code, crunch numbers, talk, teach. What do you love to do? And if there's a lot of things that come up for you, focus it down by asking yourself this one question. What is the one thing that right now you feel supremely qualified to teach other people? Think about that in one word. Hold it, don't release it yet. On the count of 5, what do you do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, that's what you do. Now, think about who you do it for. Picture them in your mind. Be ready to say it on the count of 5. Hold it, don't release it yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, who do you do it for? Let's see it one more loud, a little bit louder, please. Over the people in the tent. Who do you do it for? Together? Thank you. That is the spirit that we need. Okay, now, what do those people want or need? What do they want or need that you have, that they've come to you so you can give them this thing? What do they want or need? In just 1 or 2 words, hold it, don't release it yet. And on the count of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. Now, this is the best one. How do they change? How do they change or transform as a result of what you give them? On the count of 5, how do they change or transform as a result of what you give them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Terrific. Now, we're going to put this all together kind of in a sentence, okay? Everyone together, louder than the people in the tent. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What do they want or need? How do they change as a result? Fantastic. You have all just done something that people who went to Yale could not figure out for 25 years. Congratulations. Give yourselves a hand.
Okay, so this was a very insightful talk. I'm not going to pretend I remembered all of those off the top of my head, but we'll have the video in the link description. And I think this is a perfect way to just get you a rough draft copy of, like, even if it's you don't feel like it's connecting with you when you do this exercise, just do it a couple times, and eventually you'll get at least a direction. You can start walking in a couple different areas, shedding some light on your own, like mental house, and you can go open a couple windows, let some fresh air in, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, for us, who are we? Alex and Brad, we tell you every time. We tell you what we do. We're here to let you know your prosperous and purposeful life is being stolen from you by your comfort. Why are you coming here? Because presumably we're going to say something that's going to make it better for you or allow you to, I don't want to say escape that, but build a foundation that you actually want in all of the areas of life that you're actually struggling with, right? And how do you change? You make a career change. You take a leap. You start talking to your wife better. You learn a new skill. You learn a way to communicate. I mean, there's 100 different ways that we've tried to add value already in the few episodes, and we're going to continue to do that. But I think that's an easy way to say, like, exactly what he's talking about. And so, I mean, this wasn't easy. This took me a long time to really narrow down and figure out what I wanted to do, what medium, get with Alex. We did some trial and error episodes that we'll probably still mess up. I probably messed up this episode. It's probably not even recording. It is, I'm kidding. But I think we can conclude and say, when it comes to the starting point, I was going to talk about that, but I think we pretty much nailed it. Just take a leap. And I'm going to take a leap right to Alex because I just beat that horse with a hammer, and if you don't find your purpose after this, just rewatch it. What do you think, Alex? Take it home, Mr. Crowley.
So,
Mr.
guys,
Crowley. How have I not done that yet? You know what I mean? How have I not done that yet?
all right. Well, listen, guys, it's important and it's imperative for you to be patient with yourself. Okay, don't beat up on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. I was talking to a young lady, and right before, I made the decision to deny her sex, we were talking about a serious topic, and, she was.
Why? You're gonna get some comments, boy. I'm not protecting you from that.
Okay. Well. Well, I wanted to, because right before, I made the decision to deny her sex. We were talking about a serious topic, and, she was telling me that, an older man on social media had just bought his first house at 55 years old, right? And she was like trying to make fun of the guy, and oh, was your credit bad all your life, and nasty slanderous comments. And I had to remind her, and I said, listen, that's still a great achievement. Some people go their whole lives living under Section 8, or living in, apartments, or, living with other family members their whole life.
Man, I can
They
imagine
may
living in an
feel
apartment your whole life, man. Just because
your whole life.
like it's, uh, just tight, man.
So, yeah, so, that's still okay. He wasn't able to get his first home until he was halfway to 60 years old. So, if you are 35, 44, 21, 13, 18, 26, if you are at any of those ages, older or younger, and you haven't found your purpose yet, it's okay. Calm down. Don't panic. It's going to be all right. It's only a problem when you give up. My mom always says the battle is over when you decide to give up. So don't give up. I want to thank you all for watching today's episode. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. My name is Alex Crowley. This is Bradley Moore, and we'll see you all in the next video. Thank
Thanks,
you very
guys. Looking forward to the
Thank
next
you.
video. Here we go. 3,
Okay.
2.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay.